Blah 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 blah. Ashton here, servicing animation information, and today we'll be reviewing the anime Ergo Proxy.
私がついてるわ。少しでも動けば体内に FP 光線が送り込まれる仕組みになっている。もちろん彼にも説明済みだ。君が彼の前で FP 弾を使ったことがあるおかげで効果は十分だった。
そんなに近づいていいのか。久しぶりだな、リルメイヤー。確かに今動けば俺は死ぬ。だが死ぬ前にお前を殺すことぐらいできる。
ならどうしてそうしない？
裏切り女一人を殺すために死ぬのが惜しいだけだ。
Ergo Proxy is a 23-episode animation produced by Menglobe, directed by Shuko Murase, written by Dai Sato. The story follows a young girl named Real Mayer, accompanied by Vincent Law. Now, as their paths are separated at the very beginning of the story, they're ultimately intertwined at the very end, where they're finding out all of these secrets. Real Mayer is the granddaughter of the chancellor of the city, who's actually created this utopia around all of its citizens to find this security within the city so that everybody lives in harmony from the outside world. The outside world is perceived to be bad, everybody's in distraught, nobody's living this perfect life. Meanwhile, Vincent Law is hiding all of his secrets until the very end and revealing these along the way with a very stubborn Real Mayer, who's one of the best characters to develop this story and plot. The story happens to fall within this classic abusive society that's mistreating its citizens through false security and secrecy. The whole point of this show is just to have this utopia of a city, have all these underlying secrets to this tone and the mood of the story, as it boasts about its strong animation style. It's very surreal, very vibrant, it's very realistic, and I would say it's very methodical in terms of the scenes, from the slow pace, really long drawn out scenes to the really fast, abrupt fighting scenes that you don't get very much of. Again, this somber attitude that adds on to the whole story really does depict on what the animation style is trying to conceive. With every reason to, the plot, the style, the characters, themes, it all fits in within this down, drown out mood. The narrative of the story, much so, is just following everything and everybody. The writing on top of it is not only coming with all of these surprises, with all of these expeditions, but you're also followed by a lot of these saddening themes and tones that come throughout the story. Real has an infectious spunk that really just keeps the story driving, and I think it does a good job of just having her as the main character and everybody else having this whole premise and plot to keep moving the story forward. It's not focusing around each character or what they have to involve in the story, rather than it's focused on the story and the plot and what to see, what's coming next in the next scene, the next chapter. It's always focusing on what's coming next. Everybody is moving forward within the story. You do see a few stops along the way where you kind of wish it would hurry up and go to the next part and move on to where it needs to, but ultimately it does such a good job of keeping that animation, the ideas. The writers of this show, the animators, everybody who was involved in this show did such a good job of putting this animation and these ideas into fruition. Having these things so surreal and such in light, this story boasts so hard on its animation and story writing. And it's very, very self-aware in it too. You're not surprised whenever you see something super in your face, or you see something that's kind of backed off where it's just leaving more of the story so it can kind of fully develop more. Oh man, this story is so fleshed out, and there's so much to see, so much to hear, so much to be a part of in this story. You get so many ideas of this utopian society to this outside world that's so distraught. You can feel the safetiness of this utopia. You can feel the fear after this utopia is moving along the way. You could feel the safety of the outside world and how they've just managed to survive accordingly. It's like you're made to feel comfortable in this uncomfortable situation. Constantly, these characters are on these movements and on these brave expeditions. If you've ever felt comfortable where you're at, this story is telling you Every single day, you have no reason to feel comfortable. People putting faith in people and the ideas that people bring to fruition, from religion to one another to the ideas that people create constantly over and over. And it does such a good job. Such a good job of coming with these underlying tones and just putting them into light. From the very beginning to everybody living in harmony, to midway through these random encounters where everybody's kind of having this hard time understanding what's coming up next, even the audience understanding what's actually happening. They're not giving you this A to B plot. It's like something happens and then they'll explain it, or they'll explain it and then something happens. Each episode is continually driving the story one way or another. Whether or not you know what the episode's going to be, it all falls back to the main plot, which is moving the story along. How do you get out of this dystopian society? How do you move forward after this dystopian society has already been demolished? How does a utopian society survive within a dystopian society? The story is brilliant. The story is bold. The story is fresh for the time that it came out when it did. And I believe it does a really good job of having all of these characters having their own personality within the story. Everybody's moving the story along. There's plenty of scenes that you need to see when it's time to get down to business. And there's plenty of scenes when it's time to stop whenever it needs to. Which I think probably hurts the anime itself more than anything. It does tend to slow down and really draw out these characters and these dialogues and everybody having to have these conversations, and it is necessary to the show. Maybe add a little bit more
spontaneous interactions.
Sometimes I feel like it's doing this juggling act of how do you really get the audience to stay focused in your story, and then when is it time to do dialogue? When is it time to switch over to the next scene? Sometimes I think it gets a little bit jittery and a little bit lost in thought. They could have maybe involved a few other characters having some sort of internal affairs, or a little bit more of just outside pressure coming from everyone, just to kind of get rid of these weird slow down thoughts, really ideas coming in. Just kind of make it more continuous, a bit more entertaining. I mean, I kind of have the attention span of like a walnut sometimes, and I want to see the next thing that's coming up. Not to say that it's bad in any way, because I understand sometimes where it does need that slow, drawn out dialogue, especially for the cyberpunk story that it is. But to make it more even grim and darkening, I think it was just a little too slow sometimes, and sometimes I wish that it would just give us more. And I know we're asking for a lot for a show that's so developed, and in 2006 or 7, a show that's so drawn out, with such good animation for its time. But I mean, shows were doing it since then too. I just think it was a little too slow sometimes, and it does need to just pick up the pace a little bit. Again, best parts about it is just these underlying tones. Animation, ideas, religions, societies, philosophies. There's so much being tied in and out of the story. There's so much movement, so much character development. Everybody has their own attitudes, and one of my favorite characters of all time, Real. So much spunk, so much class, crass, and so much to offer when it comes to every encounter that she has with every single person in this story. One of the best characters by far to date, in my opinion, and I really do think that they put a lot of character depth and a lot of detail in her. It's so real, it feels like she's actually talking to you sometimes, and she's just talking to the person right next to her. One of my favorite characters, one of the best characters, very methodical, very perceptive, yet very brash, very bold. They really did something good when they made someone like Real Mayor.
He'll give it an
8. Solid 8. Absolutely. With a show that gives so much thought, so much to offer, so many thought-provoking ideas, there's just so much to gain from such a long and big story that comes out of this show. Yeah, it's so good in every way. I recommend it if you like animation. I recommend it if you want something that's a bit more psychological, something that kind of gets you moving and thinking a lot more. It's a very smart show. I think for its time, it was very self-aware, and there's so much to gain out of a show that's so bold and so just dynamically full in animation and ideas. Give it a shot. I think you would definitely like it. I think there's so much that you could get out of it. Thank you for tuning in this episode of Cisco Bang. If there is anything that I need to recommend that you recommend, please do drop it down in the comments. Drop a comment down on this video on your personal thoughts on this video. Have you seen it? Do you plan on seeing it? And if there's anything that you think I'm missing out on, please do let me know. Share some thoughts, ideas, opinions. I will be there to comment as soon as I can. I want to hit a goal of at least 30 subscribers by the end of this month, so I'll be looking forward to doing that accordingly. I do have a big surprise that I plan on revealing very soon, and we will constantly be giving you more ideas and animation information recommendations, baby. Let's go. Ergo Proxy, Cisco Bang, Ashton, Animation Forever, subbed, dubbed, keep watching it. And always love you. As always, much love.